So hey guys, Dr. Klein from Rimrock Wellness Center. It's been a year since we did the Get Out of Pain Challenge. So there are 7 challenges for each day of the week. And we're going to go over the tomahawk today. So the goal with the tomahawk, as always, is activating the psoas. The psoas is our stabilizer. And that's one thing that's common with the rest of these exercises is how can we engage and lengthen the psoas muscle to stabilize. Stabilization means it's lengthening that spine and holding the position. So the motion's going to be isolated in the hips and the shoulders. And that's just the common trait with all these exercises. Can we engage that psoas, hold that length, opening up the disc space, opening up the nerve spaces, everything just to help protect the joints, but also to teach our bodies how to move, how to breathe better, how to hinge better, and how to help the shoulders. This one's big as far as the shoulder to address that subscapularis muscle, which wants to rotate us in. So it turns the shoulders in, and a lot of us just hide this by leaning back forward. We actually don't open up the shoulders like we're supposed to. So this can help target that. Again, you can always cheat your way out of it. You can just extend at the spine and not actually correct the shoulder position. We want to actually turn that, externally rotate that shoulder. That's going to activate the other rotator cuff muscles. Subscapularis is a rotator cuff muscle, turns it in. So that's a stability issue there, because then the other ones are weakened, they're overstretched. They're not holding in that socket. So then your spine and your shoulder blade are doing all the work instead of actually the shoulder doing the motion. So we're going to try to force that to happen. So one way is we've got to actually get the hips right. So we get Phil out of the way here. So wide stance. Some people get too wide and we can't activate. It's what I call bottoming out, or we just kind of compress, because we need to actually get that psoas to lengthen. So it's hard if you're too wide. Some guys, we can't get wide at all. And girls, they're too flexible. So you got to find the middle ground. So a little wider than shoulder width apart. And then think about lengthening. As soon as I engage that psoas, pretend like you're Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mr. Olympian, you're sucking that in. That's one thing he actually said has saved his back through all the weightlifting that he did, is this exercise. When we breathe in, we don't let the belly come out. We're sucking in. And we exhale, we keep that expansion. So each breath is building on that. Lengthening, that's our psoas engagement. That's our stabilization of the foundation of our spine. So that's the big part of this exercise. So then when I hinge the hips, it's not curving at the spine. It should be a hinge right there. See the difference? We don't want to go there, where I could feel it in the knees. I don't feel any hamstring tension. We want to find the tension. You'll feel the difference. This will be easy versus with stabilization, kind of stiff and rigid. And you're like, why should it be stiff and rigid? Then you're doing work. Okay, you're not wasting your time. So it might look the same to you, but you should feel the difference. So that's going to set us up. Lengthening, pulling myself down with my hips. And then both hands together, elbows together. Maybe don't do this in a dress shirt. But all you're going to do is, on the inhale, lengthen, exhale. Try to bring those elbows up almost to your chin, and you should get a little shake there. Now we're going to do 100 of these. I'm not going to do 100 of them. You're going to do 100 of them, but I'll do a few with you. And we'll go over some variations to this exercise. But that was the Get Out of Pain Challenge, is you're doing 100 of each. Show you from a different angle. Here, lengthening, hinging, because we're holding that hinge position the whole time. And in fact, as you bring the arms up, you might even sink a little deeper. And then inhale, big breaths. The breath work is very important here. Should be a shaky tremor the whole time. Don't let your elbows come apart, then you're not doing the work. And also don't let your chest cave. That's why we're setting ourselves up into this position. You could go even deeper if you wanted to, really get that erector stretch, hamstring stretch. Chest is broad. So when you scoop in, we don't cave in. We keep that length and width at the same time. Good, so that'll challenge that rotator cuff to work well. You think that would turn the shoulders in, but the fact that the chest is broad and the elbows come together forces it to turn outwards. So it's almost an optical illusion. Another way is a squat. Now people, when they squat, they tend to tuck the pelvis, the pressure goes in the knees, This is a bad position because you see the spine is just a big C shape. You want to keep the curves in your spine. Find that stretch in the hips. One way to do that is find that tension first, like we just did, then keep it in the hips. And then I like to set up here, squeeze, pushing your knees out against your elbows, and then go into your position. That's where you want to be. You don't want to be collapsed. You want to feel it in the hips. And once you lose it, you got to reset. It's unfortunate. Hinging, coming down, scoop those knees and squeeze and lengthen. Find that should be tight, fatiguing in the hips. Then keep that hip motion, same exercise. Breath in. Reaching. Another way you can do this is rotate a little bit. Check left, check right. It's harder going right. So pull into the hard side, the restricted side. Do maybe 25 in that position. Because we all tend to rotate a little bit. So that might actually center you out. So you might automatically be a little twisted to the left when you're down in the squat. You might favor one side like that. You might feel like you're straight, but you're actually rotated. So you'd want to counter rotate, and that'll actually even you out. So again, we're not bottomed out in the squat where our spine's in compression. We're trying to keep that length. And if that's too hard, you did this last year, you're a pro, you're already good at this one, try the squat, just a variation. I'll link the playlist from last year down below. Check it out, and maybe I'll try to do the rest of these. But that woke me up. Remember, it's all about that psoas, engaging, lengthening that. The better you get at that, the more difficult this exercise will become. I just did a few. I'm exhausted. Shouldn't be trying to talk while you're doing these breathing exercises because it is very fatiguing. If you're not fatigued, keep working on it. You'll find that restriction. You'll find where your hips are tight, especially if you're very loosey-goosey already. This is not about stretching. It's about strengthening what is weak and also retraining you to breathe better, hinge better, use your arms better. The things we do most often. Walking, breathing, bending over, sitting even can be a therapeutic exercise. It's not what we do, it's how we do it that causes problems. Readdress, retrain ourselves to move better. You can't think out of the problem, you have to train yourself out of the problem, unfortunately. All right, guys, take care. Leave questions down below.